Imagine a world teetering on the edge, nuclear rivals exchanging missile fire, millions facing starvation behind blockade lines, and an entirely new kind of pope confronting the rise of artificial intelligence. This isn't fiction, it's the world we live in. This week, from shadow wars in South Asia to silent diplomacy in Europe, from Gaza's deepening collapse to a tech war that may split the world in two, the past 7 days weren't just historic, they were defining. This is Nexusfeed Weekly Top 5 Global News Roundup, your lens into the world as it really is and where it might be headed. Let's dive straight in. We begin in South Asia, where the world came terrifyingly close to witnessing a war between two nuclear powers. On April 30th, a deadly attack on tourists in Indian-administered Kashmir reignited tensions between India and Pakistan. New Delhi blamed the assault on Pakistan-backed militants, while Islamabad strongly denied any involvement. But unlike previous skirmishes, this time the confrontation escalated quickly and dangerously. By May 7th, Indian forces had launched Operation Sindoor, a series of precision airstrikes across 9 locations in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. The symbolic name, drawn from a red powder worn by married Hindu women, signaled cultural resolve and national defiance. Then came a turning point. On May 9th, India struck Pakistan's Nur Khan airbase with cruise missiles, revealing capabilities that shocked global observers. Pakistan's reply was swift and forceful. In Operation Bunyanan Marsus, Pakistani jets crossed into Indian airspace and targeted key military sites, including the Pathankot airbase. Pakistan deployed its advanced Fateh-2 missile, intercepted by Indian defenses, but marking the first confirmed use of such technology in the conflict. The human toll? Devastating. At least 60 civilians killed, hundreds injured, and thousands displaced along the line of control. Both nations shut down their airspace to civilian flights, disrupting international routes and rattling global supply chains. A ceasefire was announced on May 10th. It came thanks to diplomatic pressure from the U.S., with mediation by Saudi Arabia and Turkey. President Trump took credit for brokering the deal. But within hours, shelling resumed. The peace, it seems, may be only temporary. The bigger picture? Kashmir's status, water disputes, and deep-rooted hostility remain unresolved. With both countries modernizing their nuclear arsenals and embracing cyber warfare, the next crisis may be even harder to contain. In a very different corner of the world, a historic moment of leadership unfolded in the Vatican. Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, an American born in Chicago and raised in a working-class immigrant family, has been elected Pope Leo XIV, the first American pontiff in Catholic history. His path has been unconventional. From ministering in Peru's slums to leading the dicastery for bishops, he's known for blending pastoral care with administrative discipline. Fluent in 5 languages and holding U.S. Peruvian citizenship, he brings a truly global perspective. His motto, In illo uno unum, meaning, in him, we are one. Pope Leo has outlined 3 main priorities. Continue reforms begun under Pope Francis, strengthen the Church's role in the global South, and confront the ethical challenges of technology, especially artificial intelligence. At his inaugural Mass, he warned that AI could threaten not just economies but the core of human dignity. He's preparing a major encyclical on what he calls techno-humanism, a call to defend human agency in a world dominated by machines. But his pontificate won't be easy. The Church remains divided on issues ranging from LGBTQ inclusion to clerical abuse. His American identity, while historic, may alienate some in the global South, even as it energizes others. Still, early signs are hopeful. Faith leaders across denominations have welcomed his emphasis on unity and dialogue. In a world torn by conflict, Leo XIV may be a much-needed moral compass. In Gaza, the humanitarian situation is worsening by the hour. 9 weeks into a full Israeli blockade, aid groups now describe the crisis as a man-made famine. Flour stocks are gone. Over 90% of children under 5 suffer from severe food insecurity. Hospitals have no medicine. Doctors are improvising with outdated tools. Since the war reignited in October 2023, over 52,000 Palestinians have been reported dead, according to the territory's Hamas-run health ministry. On May 5 alone, an Israeli airstrike was said to have killed 92 people. UNICEF warns that more than 9,000 children face permanent developmental damage due to malnutrition. The Israeli government's new plan, approved May 5, expands military operations, forces mass relocations to Rafah, and reworks aid distribution. Most controversially, it introduces biometric ID checks for aid access, raising fears of surveillance and exclusion. Rights groups warn this could punish families with alleged Hamas ties and violate humanitarian neutrality. The UN's humanitarian coordinator called the plan a red line breach. The global response has been fierce. Abbas met Putin in Moscow to demand support. Europe is reconsidering trade agreements with Israel. Even the U.S. government, though still providing military aid, has grown impatient. Some analysts say Israel's strategy amounts to demographic engineering through starvation. With Netanyahu's coalition heavily influenced by far-right voices, the prospect of lasting peace looks increasingly remote. Unless something changes, the situation could soon surpass even the darkest predictions. Meanwhile, in Geneva, U.S. and Chinese officials sat down for critical trade talks. The results? Underwhelming. With tariffs now exceeding 140% in both directions, the world's two largest economies are in an economic standoff with no end in sight. The U.S. wants China to end subsidies for its tech giants and agree to stricter intellectual property rules. China wants an immediate end to tariffs and relief from semiconductor restrictions. But neither side showed signs of compromise. President Trump even floated an 80% tariff as a reasonable middle ground. That would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. The effects are already visible. U.S. manufacturers are canceling orders. Chinese factories are running at record low capacity. Container traffic between the two nations has dropped by over 50%. And mysteriously, trade between China and Mexico has surged, hinting at possible rerouting to bypass tariffs. What's more troubling is the growing tech split. The US and China are building separate ecosystems for everything from 5G to AI governance. If this continues, the world could face two incompatible technological standards for decades. The Geneva talks ended with a vague promise to continue discussions, but with elections looming and nationalism rising on both sides, true reconciliation may be off the table. On May 10th, leaders from France, Germany, the UK, and Poland arrived in Kyiv with a bold offer: a 30-day unconditional ceasefire. This isn't the first peace effort, but it may be the most unified. And crucially, it has backing from Washington. Trump endorsed the proposal and appointed General Keith Kellogg to oversee monitoring. The idea is simple: both sides stop fighting for a month. No preconditions, no negotiations. Just silence the guns and open a door to diplomacy. Russia's response? Lukewarm at best. The Kremlin insists that Western arms shipments must stop, a condition that undermines the whole initiative. Meanwhile, the battlefield remains brutal. Russian gains in Donetsk are small but costly. Ukraine's counteroffensive is stalled due to supply shortages. Europe is struggling with war fatigue. German industry is in recession. Polish cities are straining under refugee costs. A proposed sanctions package targets Russia's last remaining energy exports and financial lifelines. Europe knows the retaliation could be severe: cyber attacks, gas shutoffs, or worse. But what's more telling is the strategic shift. Quietly, Western leaders are beginning to discuss compromises. Not surrender but realism. After 3 years of war, the idea of a negotiated peace is no longer taboo. Will it happen? That depends on whether Moscow, Kyiv, and the West are ready to choose diplomacy over attrition. This week revealed a world spinning faster and not always toward peace. South Asia's near war, Gaza's humanitarian collapse, a rising tech Cold War, and subtle diplomatic shifts in Ukraine. These are not isolated events, they are deeply connected. Trade wars shape food insecurity. Ceasefires collapse under political pressure. Technological change creates moral and military dilemmas. And yet, amid the chaos, there are signs of hope. Fragile truces, honest diplomacy, and a pope who sees technology not just as a threat, but as a spiritual challenge. Our world is changing, rapidly, and the decisions made now, by leaders, by citizens, by all of us, will define what comes next. You've been watching Nexusfeed Weekly Global News Roundup, helping you see the world as it is and what it might become. If you found this video informative, please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to be notified of our next video, and share the roundup with someone who cares about the bigger picture. Thanks for watching. And until next week, stay informed, stay compassionate, and most of all, stay hopeful.